A very, very wonderful aloha. I'm Cindy Paulos, and this is Spirit Speaks. And it's based on the idea of how Spirit speaks through us in so many ways. And I've always been a firm believer that when you're open to creativity and music and writing, that Spirit will speak. And this particular inspiration for Spirit Speaks was a beautiful project that really was channeled through my sister after her passing in messages that I got, which created an album called In the Hands of God. And this is a pet project. You know, we all have our favorites. And I have a wonderful guest here with me today. I'm so happy to be able to introduce Darlene Koldenhoven. Aloha, Darlene. How are you today in your lovely, lovely studio? Actually, a beautiful room dedicated to your music there, right?
Yes, aloha, Cindy. So nice to be with you today.
Well, you're an integral part of In the Hands of God. And actually, it was a part of the puzzle that was so very important. Um, and this whole project has been very blessed, but I knew I had to have someone who could sing these parts that had an understanding of how spirit works. And your background is so much fueled by that energy. I mean, I just have to say, I'm honored to have you on. A little bit of your background here. And I'll go to your website and share the screen so people can see your beautiful projects that you've been involved in, which are a multitude of projects that are absolutely amazing. I have to say, if people go to your website, they will see. So I'll bring that up right now so people can get an idea of what you've created with, I'm sure, the help of spirit over the years. Um, so this is just a little bit of an idea. I first have to say how blessed you are to be able to be a Grammy winner, winning a Grammy for someone such as people who are independents is such a major achievement. And
It
this
is.
site really has your story so well taken, darlenekoldenhoven.com. And it tells so much about who you are and what you've done, and even has a picture there of your Indie Channel Award that you got. I mean, and there's so much we could talk about. I mean, the amazing opportunity to perform live at the Acropolis with Yanni. I can't even imagine going to India 3 times to perform with Grammy Award winning Ricky Kaj, doing work with my dear friend who I love so much, Boder Kellerman, and doing work with so many people who I just absolutely adore. You can see that all if you go to her site. And you were also nominated for a Grammy twice as well.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I love your music very, very much. And
Thank you.
I play your music on KUOS. There was this beautiful, beautiful album, Color My World. Oh my gosh.
Color
That
me home.
Color Me Home. Oh, I love that one. It just speaks to me so well. Oh, good. You get it already, and it's beautifully shown there. I love it. But
Yeah.
how many CDs have you done through all of
Color
these
me book.
inspirations?
Oh, on my own label. My new one that they saw on the front of the website that's coming out in a couple of months is number 11.
Wow. I'm on number 11, and this In the Hands of God is going to be 12. So you know what it takes, especially doing your own label. What's the name of your label?
Time Art Recordings, because Salvador Dali said music is the art of time. So Time Art.
What a wonderful quote.
Yeah.
Music is the art of time. Now,
Yes.
what does that statement say to you, and how does it resonate with you?
Well, music, you have rhythm, right? You have pitch and melody, you have dynamics, loud and soft. So it kind of covers the universe. And painting is a visual art. Music is an audio art, but is the art of time, because rhythm, a song starts at 0 and then it goes to 3.5 minutes or whatever it is. So you have that many minutes or however long the piece is to create your art. So I think that's why he said music is the art of time.
Well, it's a you know, he's such an amazing artist. He talk about thinking outside the box, right? That guy was brilliant.
Yeah, he stretched his images just like, you know, we stretch time with music, because music and spirit-filled music really, well, all music really, it changes the atmosphere of the room instantly. It immediately changes the vibe, you know. So it definitely, and for me, the music really comes from spirit. You know, I draw on it, you know, before when I'm on the microphone, like when I did your project, like I do all my projects. When I'm on the microphone, I put up a little prayer. I say, Spirit, enter me, let me be the vessel, and I will be your voice, you know, and you be my voice through this. And so that's how I work. And that's how it came out. I get it.
And you feel that when you hear the songs, and it's interesting how you're able to have a lot of different voices. If people look at your website, they'll see that you have done all kinds of different projects, including spoken word,
Yeah.
and of course great new age pieces, but also classical, you know, and many pieces that take even a range and a stretch of your voice. And I think being a voice teacher, as you are, I think you are able to understand and convey that beautifully. So I honor that gift that you have. Some people who are vocalists can only sing in one genre. But I know that you're able to sing in many genres, which is to me very impressive that you are. It takes a gift. I think a part of the mind shift, right? And the ear. Yes.
Yeah, it takes the ear, because the voice can only do what the ear can hear. So if you're taking in the full range of frequencies in your ear, then you have the full range of, it's all about listening. You know, we hear automatically, but we listen selectively. And it depends on what you're listening. So I grew up in a very classically oriented household, piano, voice, everything. But I began to listen very closely to other singers and other genres, and listen to their nuances and how they're phrasing and what the tonality, the quality of the voice is. So when you listen to yourself very carefully and you learn how to manipulate those sounds, and because of the work that I did, you know, here in Los Angeles, sung on over 1,000 recordings and movies and records and commercials and so forth. And every session required a little bit of a different sound, and you sing with different people in a group. So you take on the coloring of their sound, and that's how you get the blend and so forth. But yeah, I'm kind of a vocal chameleon, but I've always had blessed with a very big range, like 5 octaves, you know, and just, but I always say God has blessed me very much, and I work very hard at developing it, maintaining it, and using it for his, you know, Spirit's purpose.
I thank you for that. And it was so interesting on this project. The music was written by Father Choral Pete Van Eden, and he happened to be very inspired by the Sister Act. And when he found out that you were in the movie, The Sister Act, he was enthralled because it made a deep impact on him. And you worked not only in the movie, but you were a vocal coach as well, and,
Right.
and did work with that, which must, again, here you are taking on the role of a nun, right? And in a movie, which has got a lot of challenges and must take a lot of focus because there's so many elements. I mean, I work in radio, and I have to say it's kind of easy in radio. It's just your voice and the microphone, right? But, you know, there's rock stations I do, and there's talk stations and different voices. But in a movie, it must have been very interesting for you to play that role and hold your focus within that whole stage setting and movie setting with everything, the lights, the camera, the action. That must have been an amazing experience.
Yeah, it really was an amazing experience. I was not only the tambourine waving choir nun, and because I'm 5'10", they usually stuck me in the back row, but also the production vocal coach. So except for Whoopi, I taught everyone how to sing. I taught them the music. I conducted everybody. I was musical director, assisting the director to, this part of the choir is singing now, so start with your camera here and then pan. If you go the other way, nobody's going to be singing over here. So, little things like that. And it was just such a wonderful experience. And even though we had 21 different writers and we really didn't know kind of from one day to the next where the script was going, they would literally shove it under our door the night before. When we were on the road, we were in San Francisco shooting, at the church up there. When we shot the grand finale with the Pope, for the grand finale, there was a lot of, we have extras in the audience, and on the breaks I would go, dressed in my habit, I would kind of go mill around and listen to people talking, and everybody was like, wow, if church was like this, I'd go back to church, and just that whole message of servanthood, serving the community, which is part of the Spirit message too, and so all of that was brought out, and I think it really had an influence on people. I know Father Carl Pete told me that it was a big influence and a decision he made to go into the priesthood just because in that movie he got the call. And so, you never know how Spirit is going to move, and that's the thing. You always have to be ready to go, be prepared and be ready for Spirit to move you, and always be open for Spirit to take you places, and you really do have a wonderful, peaceful, exciting, adventurous life if you let yourself float on Spirit. Now, that said, it's not always the easiest thing to do, but the more we can achieve that, I think the better all our lives will be.
I absolutely agree. And I think you're a living example of how you've been able to put that to work in your music and your life.
Yeah, because if people read my bio and resume, I've never had a manager or an agent. I've done this. I could say I've done this all myself. But really, I say, God has worked through me to do this. God is my manager. God is my agent, and he's done a better job than most agents in town I know can do. So.
I really have I've written poems, and actually I wanted to do a book called God is My Manager. And I love that idea. And I'm so glad you're able to see that. I was just meditating this morning on this project, In the Hands of God. And, there's all kinds of projects I've done in the past, but this one I want so much to do well. And I've been thinking of the best way to do it. And there's so much you have to handle is when you are working. And it comes back down to exactly what you just said, that you have to, in the end, of course, turn it into and over to the hands of God, but you have to do the best you can do to serve that.
Spirit. Spirit gave you the gift, so your part is to do the best that you can do. I always say my motto is excellence, not perfection, because only Spirit is perfect. Only God is perfect. Thank you. So when we do excellence, we honor Spirit, and it's a way of saying thank you for giving us this gift.
Yes, absolutely. So true. I'm going to read the message I got after my sister Pamela passed last July, July 29th. She believed in life going on, and I did, of course, as well. I've written books about this, but so I kind of sensed there would be some kind of connection there. But you never know. With Spirit, it works in its own ways. But then I've got all these messages that were definitely in a voice that was very similar to her voice. We were very close, but she lived in Texas, so I hadn't seen her actually in a long time. And I was meditating a lot, and I do anyway. And then this one came to me. We are in the hands of God every moment of every day, held there in the love that has such amazing grace. I give thanks for that presence that is constantly there with me. and remember in life to pray and find that inner peace. God is my true companion, for we never walk alone. This constant spirit lifts us to find a higher ground in the hands of God. We thank the Lord each and every day for helping us when we're lost and can't not find our way. Spirit is a blessing that speaks in silent waves, and I honor this divine blessing that accompanies me eternally in the hands of God. We are in the hands of God. And you sang that so beautifully with the unbelievable orchestrations that I love so much from Stephen Malillo.
Very
And
inspiring.
yes, that when I heard his orchestrations, which were done right after Father Coral Pete Van Eden did it, I went, wow, this is raising the bar for me. All right. When I heard that, I want this to be, as you would have said, and just said, excellent. And so, turning that over to you, I felt like was a gift. Um, and it's been an amazing journey. You make connections with all of your collaborations. And I'm sure you found that too. I mean, it must have been amazing for you and so many of your projects and collaborations to find the pieces of the puzzle and try to honor the way they fit best, right?
Right. I have to say, though, I was very spiritually blessed singing your words and the music and so forth. I mean, like last night, just, when I'm in that kind of gray zone, waking up from sleeping, In the Hands of God was there. And also a couple of the other songs. I mean, they were just so moving. It was so wonderful to sing. And when the lyrics are right and the music is beautiful, the voice just flows out. It just sucks all that in and spews it all out. And it just was so uplifting. I mean, it was really, like I said, music will put you in a different place if you let it. And that certainly did. So I felt like I was in the hands of God. And every once in a while, in the hands of God floats into my ears as I'm going about my day, and it really, if I happen to get tense, I hear in the hands of God coming in there. So I don't know if it's your sister, whispering in my ear now or what, but
Well, Spirit speaks that
yeah.
way. And I really do believe that. And I've done many spoken word pieces, as you have. And spoken word always sounds better with music behind it, obviously, to lift your spirits. But I have also found when there's a song with music sung, it's so much easier to remember those words.
Right.
And as you just mentioned, it comes to me. And another one, When Spirit Speaks, I listen, and that's why I called this show When Spirit Speaks, because that is the gift of music. It kind of does live in you. And I think that's why over time, so many oral traditions have carried music that can live for a long, long time, centuries and longer. And because music lives, and it can live on and on. And this last year with COVID-19 and so many people passing, um, just in America, over 500,000. When I realized, of course, my sister passed and we all have deep relationships and connections, but there were so many that had lost loved ones and were trying to, just like I was, even with my sister, trying to turn it over to the hands of God. And I felt, as I'm sure you did, in COVID-19, we all felt as inspirational creators that we had to try to do something to
Right.
reach out and offer something back to all the people who were suffering.
That's right. For me, it was a solo piano album project, with the music being very calming and reassuring and warm and home feeling to help people. And even as we continue with the COVID-19 in through 2021 and through this year, I think I wanted to do something, but again, it was like spirit, because I really didn't start this until October. All of a sudden, something moved me in October last year and said, you have to do this. And so I actually did 2 albums worth. So we have the Grand Piano Spa coming out May 14, and we have the Grand Piano Spa Legacy, which is going to be coming out in October. So that's, and I also have piano book sheet music. So if people are piano players and they would like to learn the pieces and play along or play by themselves, so they have an opportunity to listen to the album, or they can create the music themselves. So
I have also realized in this project how wonderful it is to have someone like yourself and Stephen, who understand music and orchestrations and the sheet music and the way you can work with it, really made the collaboration easier, because language has
exactly.
spirit, but then there's also the language of music that speaks in notes, and you were able to understand and use that so well with him. And that was a gift, and a lot of musicians sometimes just get the music without understanding the prerequisites of reading music or understanding music. For obviously someone like you, who does not only vocal work, but instrumental work and arrangements, it's really an important part of your tools.
Well, music it's another language, and we can all learn how to speak another language without learning how to spell or write it down. So some musicians do it all by ear, and others then take it to the next level and learn the theory and learn how to write notes and, learn all the language of communicating music. And when you have a common when you know the language, then the communication goes a lot faster and it's a lot easier. That's the benefit of learning how to read music and knowing the language. Otherwise, the music just comes, has to come from the heart, comes from spirit.
On this latest piano spa work, I have also found in this project and discovered that there's sometimes things you can say with music that even goes beyond words.
Yes.
And in fact, I just talked with Stephen Malillo the other day about doing the instrumentals on this as a separate release, because some of them are so lovely. And I have my own way Spirit spoke in my message, but then for someone else, an instrumental piece may speak in an interior way
Right.
that's very powerful. So when you do, and you did this last work, and it was COVID-19, and you were trying to put out something that was going to be comforting, what in that mode did you find, and what kind of energy were you creating in your music to try to bring comfort?
Well, with it's a solo piano, so there's nothing sung, and it is a little bit more universal. Yes. Because music is according to everybody's taste. What frequencies they're listening to, and they're in their ear and their brain and things like that. So I wanted that to be more universal. But I've done that with albums like my Color Me Home album is this one that's sung with lyrics. And then a year after, I put out an album called Chromatones, and that was removing the vocal, replacing it with instruments. And it was a unique process, because to make it sound right, you don't just throw any instrument on there. You have to choose the instrument like it is a voice that represents what the original content and concept of that piece was, to make it work as an instrumental. So sometimes you take the human element out, which allows space for people to put their own humanness in. Sometimes people, when they hear a voice, even if they're going ooh or ah or whatever, it brings the human element in. But once you bring a word, a lyric in that people can understand, then it sits more in the language part of the brain as opposed to just the music part of the brain.
It's exactly what the process I'm going through, very synchronistic, because I had heard your vocal and I love that. And I play it on the station I have in Sedona, KUOS. And I was listening to some of your work on Amazon Music, and then I heard the instrumental and I realized how beautiful the arrangements were in that. And because I already knew what you had done, it was already kind of had a little home. There's patterns in music, and as you mentioned, energy and frequencies.
Right.
So it already was recognized by myself. And then hearing it in the arrangements was a lovely experience. And I hadn't even put the two pieces together in my mind. That it's like, okay, that's what I'm thinking of doing also now.
Yeah.
And I was just talking to Stephen Melillo about how we would find the right instrument to be the vocal part. And a spoken word piece that I did on In the Hands of God, we did a flute, and he picked the flute, not realizing my sister Pamela was a concert flautist,
Right.
which totally resonated for me in a very deep way.
Yeah.
And so it is interesting how, again, in the same way, even though it's not a voice speaking, how the instruments indeed will have some resonance and have to fit in the right way to reach the message coming out through the instrumentation.
Right.
And I think you do a beautiful job with arrangements and instrumentation.
Oh, thank you. I love it. It's so much fun. It's like putting a big puzzle together. And as a little kid, I loved puzzles. When I was really like 3 years old, I was, couldn't get enough of puzzles. So I think it's this organized brain I have or something. But yeah, writing, composing music and arranging music, you're organizing time and space, and it's like putting a big puzzle together. And that's the beauty of it and the fun of it too.
And it is art. And it is, and I know music and notes creates colors. And I'm sure you are aware of that since you have that in your title there. But those colors are energy fields, and you also know how healing it is. I hadn't heard of the CARE network, but your music is played for healing energy.
Yeah. Yes, it's played a lot the instrumentals are played in hospitals and hospices, around the world. So, yeah.
I mean, and that is I think it's still a field that's being explored. And my friend Rupam Sarma is actually doing some work in this and trying to prove how sounds do heal. And I know they do. And there's something about having a sound that's speaking to your soul, as your music does, and indeed what Stephen did with his orchestrations of Father Coral Pete Van Eden's music. It feels very comforting to me as well. And that's what I'm hoping we can convey. And I'm glad you brought up chromatones, because I had not even put the two pieces together, but I was thinking along the same lines with what I'm going to be doing.
Good.
What genre does your instrumental pieces usually get put in with the Grammys?
Just new age. Just the only category they really have is new age, which now has become a collect-all for a lot of different things. They could have a whole list of subcategories for new age right now, but yeah. So contemporary, instrumental, new age, that's kind of where it sits.
Yeah. Well, the best site, I guess, is your site, but if people want to listen streaming, do you have one platform you suggest for people finding your music?
It's it's on Spotify. I always could use some extra listeners and stuff, and on YouTube. Please subscribe to my channel and put it on and let it play in the background. Give it some spins, as we used to say. It's all over, which is great. It's on all the platforms. So
I did subscribe to your YouTube channel, and it was nice to be able to see you there in Greece. Oh my God, what an amazing experience it must be in Greece with Yanni. Oh, talk about once in a lifetime experience. Oh my, that is amazing that you were able to have that experience.
When I walked out on that stage to sing for the first time in the concert, full moon was coming up over the Parthenon, and I'm on that stage and I'm thinking, the Apostle Paul spoke here. All these great orators spoke here. And I am also on this stage. I mean, it was almost so overwhelming. I almost couldn't even sing, the first time. My heart was just like, heavy with the weight of it is at this place. I mean, you could almost feel the energy knowing of all these great people that have spoken there before. It was really phenomenal experience.
I've been there 2 or 3 times, and it is absolutely so true that there is this energy field. There are power spots, of course, all over the world.
Yes, right,
And be it that is one of them. And to
right.
be there with that on the full moon. And you can see that, folks, if you go to Darlene's YouTube site, just put in Darlene Koldenhoven, right? And you
Yeah,
can find it.
that's it.
Or if you go to your website,
It's on the website too, darlenekoldenhoven.com.
yeah.
There's a bunch of the select videos on there. And I really enjoy reading, and I respond to all the comments that people make on, various videos, but especially I get a lot, of course, on the Yanni of the Acropolis, the aria piece that we did there.
Oh, I'm sure.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, that
Absolutely. And I mean, again, that's way that experience lives on by people watching it and being able to see it there. I
well, see,
guess,
it was very interesting for me because that year we were filming Sister Act 2 at the same time. I had to be in LA for Sister Act 2, and then the next day I was on stage in New York City opening with Yanni, and then that summer tour, in Greece. And so that was 93 when we recorded that. That was like one of my biggest years. But I just thought it was very interesting because both projects at the time, because when you do them, you're never sure how it's going to go. But over time now, both projects are classics, and I just don't know why, but they were both classics. Something all came together right that year. So
it's in the hands of God. And we don't know. Sometimes we think we can manipulate it and use it. And there's times and ways we can try to bring it to life. But there's sometimes, how could you have ever known in that year you would have had those, I mean, that was your time. And there's so much involved in the elements of making that come to light, but it is in the hands of God. And I am working on my website, inthehandsofgod.com. Hope to have it out soon. We're in the mixing and mastering stages, the final stages of deciding the order and all that, and then the cover and all of that part of it still in the works. But the single, I believe, will be in the hands of God, and that should be out within a month. I want to have it out by my sister's birthday, April 18th. So I want to have that out.
good. Oh, you'll be able to do that. No problem.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I can't thank you enough, my
Thank you.
dear friend. It's really an honor to have you as part of this project. And it's so nice to get to know you and your work. So I think that's one of the wonderful things about this indie community as well, and the Grammys, that you make friends and you do collaborations with people you never would have known that this would have happened. And so that opportunity is such a great part of the music industry. And it kind of happens on a level that a lot of people aren't aware of. A lot of it can be organic, but it's through the connections of each kind of knowing each other. So through the music industry, that is kind of different than the big the big commercial music industry. And I don't know if we could do that if we had big labels ourselves, right?
No. That's the beauty of being an independent. We get to do whatever we want. We get to do how the spirit moves us.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And keep that spirit with you always. God bless you. And a very big aloha to you.
Aloha.